Stop right there, I yelled, my voice cracking the early morning silence at exactly 6:17 a.m. barefoot in my flannel pajamas. I sprinted down the driveway towards Susan Hargrove, our HOA president, who was swinging a crowbar at my visitor's pickup truck with all the fury of a woman possessed. The crash of the windshield shattering sent glass flying like deadly confetti. She spun around, her neatly pressed khaki skirt now streaked with grime and oil. "This eyesore is dragging down our property values," she snarled, her face twisted in righteous anger. Another swing, and the side mirror exploded into pieces. "That's not even my truck," I shouted back. "Doesn't matter whose junk it is," she shot back, dragging the crowbar across the door with a screech that set my teeth on edge. Neighbors' doors creaked open, cell phones raised, capturing every damning moment. After 8 years of her nickel-and-dime fines, arbitrary rules, and towing threats, here she was committing a full-blown felony on camera. And she had no idea whose truck she was vandalizing. When I finally shouted out loud and clear who the real owner was, she froze in mid-swing, the crowbar hanging limp in her hand, all the blood draining from her face like she'd seen a ghost. What would you do if your HOA president snapped like this? Where are you tuning in from? And what's the wildest HOA or neighbor nightmare you've lived through? Let me rewind and explain how we got to this explosive point, because this wasn't some random outburst. This was the boiling point of 8 years of graft, bullying, and small-time despotism. My name's Alex Rivera, and about 18 months ago, I snagged my little corner of suburban bliss in Oak Ridge Meadows. Fresh off a messy divorce that left me scraping by, I craved a quiet spot to piece my life back together. The place seemed ideal: tidy lawns, welcoming families, and HOA dues at a reasonable $285 a month. Little did I know, our HOA president, Susan Hargrove, ruled this neighborhood like her own private fiefdom. Susan was 58, with that overprocessed blonde hair that screamed, "I was prom queen once," a real estate broker by day and a backyard autocrat by night. The overpowering floral scent of her perfume announced her arrival blocks away. Married to a retired police chief, which she mentioned in every chat like it was a badge of invincibility. The fresh-cut grass and sprinkler haze couldn't hide the undercurrent of unease in our picture-perfect cul-de-sacs. Every dawn, the buzz of lawnmowers blended with Susan's clipped commands as she patrolled for infractions. The scratch of her pen on those pink violation slips was the sound everyone dreaded. Just 2 weeks in, I got my initiation into Susan's brand of justice. Dragging home from a 12-hour shift repairing CT scanners at the hospital, I spotted a glaring yellow notice taped to my door like an eviction threat. A $150 fine for non-compliant mailbox color. I blinked at it, then at my mailbox, then at the row of 30 identical ones down the street, all the same weathered charcoal gray. I even counted them to be sure. Yeah, I'm detail-oriented like that. I dialed Susan right away. "Ma'am, my mailbox matches everyone else's exactly. In low light, that gray can look black," she replied in that condescending tone reserved for the dim-witted. "It's outlined in our design standards, section 4.2.7. The sharp sting of unfairness stuck with me as I cut that first check. But hey, new homeowner, keep the peace, choose your fights wisely, right? That was my initial error. In the months that followed, I saw Susan's scheme play out. She preyed on the single folks, the minorities, anyone who seemed too busy or broke to push back. Mrs. Lee got dinged for overly exotic garden produce. Her bell peppers were somehow too vibrant. The Thompson family, our mixed-race couple, always had their trash bins misaligned. Yet Susan's inner circle parked boats in their driveways for weeks without a peep. I pieced together Susan's incentives for bleeding residents dry. Her husband's retirement payout was slimmer than anticipated. The housing market was sluggish, and she'd grown used to upscale tastes. Those HOA perks, salary hikes, expense reimbursements, sweetheart deals with vendors, filled the gaps between her caviar dreams and ramen reality. Then, 6 months back, everything shifted when I met Emily. Emily Whitaker was the kind of woman I never thought I'd deserve after my divorce. Sharp-witted, warm, stunning, and genuinely drawn to a grease-stained medical tech like me. We crossed paths at a diner near the courthouse. She mentioned legal work, but kept it vague. I assumed paralegal or clerk. Our connection built steadily. She'd crash at my place weekends, sometimes midweek. Her sturdy Ford F-150 with those official plates I barely noticed became a fixture in my driveway. That's when Susan zeroed in on me like a hawk spotting prey. Susan had rigid notions about who fit in Oak Ridge Meadows. A divorced Latino man dating a woman in a pickup? That clashed with her vision of our prestigious enclave. The real battle was brewing. Susan's opening salvo came wrapped as community enhancement. 3 weeks after Emily and I went exclusive, a sunny notice appeared in my mailbox. New visitor parking rules, effective now. The ink's fresh smell couldn't cover the stink of personal vendetta. Guests could street park for just 48 hours per 30 days. Fines at $75 a day, backdated. My gut sank as I reread it. Emily's truck had sat there 3 days straight that week. This is outrageous, I vented to Emily over steak that night. It's like she's got a timer on my driveway. Emily arched a brow, that keen look I'd come to know. Did she get board approval for this? Board approval? HOAs can't just invent rules willy-nilly. There are protocols. She backtracked with a coy grin. I mean, I've brushed up on some real estate law. Next morning, Susan's first parking ticket fluttered under my wiper like a poison pen letter. $225 for Emily's 3-day stay. The heavy bond paper screamed spite. Recalling my divorce lawyer's advice, I knew rule changes needed proper votes and records. Most HOAs couldn't slap on restrictions without bylaws compliance. Time to dig in. For 2 weeks, I turned early walks into surveillance ops. Thermos in hand, phone snapping pics, gravel crunching underfoot as I logged Susan's double standards like a gumshoe in suburbia. The payoff was gold. Susan's daughter's pals had 5 cars outside her place for 6 days during a sorority bash. Her knitting group jammed Elm Lane with overnighters. One black SUV lingered 9 days. Her brother-in-law's van squatted on Maple for 2 weeks during remodels. No tickets. Meanwhile, Mrs. Lee got slapped for her son's 3-day visit. The Thompsons for their niece's weekend. Every victim was a minority or past critic of Susan. I lodged a formal grievance, citing unequal enforcement, demanding all HOA minutes from the last 18 months. Straight-laced, undeniable. That's when Susan blundered big. Mrs. Wilkins, our 70-ish secretary who still filed hard copies of emails, slipped Susan's private exchanges into the packet. Bless her old-fashioned ways. There it was, in stark print. That Latino troublemaker is getting uppity. His trucker girlfriend makes the block look like a junkyard. We need to push him out before he tanks our home values. Latino troublemaker. I'm Texas-born, college grad, earning solid pay fixing multi-million-dollar scanners. But to Susan, brown skin plus pickup equaled trash. The emails escalated, plotting targeted campaigns, strategizing to encourage unwanted families to leave. She'd gifted me a slam-dunk discrimination lawsuit. Emily found me that night, papers strewn across my dining table like a crime board. The shuffle of pages broke the quiet as she scanned over my shoulder, her face hardening. Alex, this is... She trailed off, her tone laced with expert fury. This is textbook civil rights abuse. It could ruin her. You've handled property stuff before? She gave that enigmatic smile. Sort of. My phone's satisfying snap had documented 2 weeks of Susan's own rule breaks. Whispers of support grew. Mrs. Lee nodded in solidarity. Mr. Thompson shared his files. Susan's grip was slipping, and she sensed it. But I misjudged her desperation. Bullies either fold or explode when cornered. Susan was pure dynamite. Next day, a hand-delivered edict arrived that dwarfed the parking nonsense. Landscaping mandates, professional services required. If she couldn't nail me on parking, she'd nitpick my weeds. Challenge accepted. Susan's landscaping decree was a control freak's fantasy. Monthly checks obligatory. Weeds, odd plants, or visual blights, fined $200. All via approved contractors only. Small-town sleaze is blatant. Larry Hargrove of Hargrove Elite Groundskeeping suddenly monopolized our 847-home hood. Larry? Susan's brother-in-law, whose expertise meant a weed whacker and zero creativity. I glared at my notice over cooling coffee. Visible dandelions constitute community blight. I had precisely 3. Susan's yard? Immaculate, courtesy of Larry's gratis work since 2019. That familiar unfair bite returned. But this time, I recalled a tip from my ex's eco-lawyer pal. HOAs can't ban water-wise plants under state conservation rules. Water trumps vanity lawns. I hit the county extension office that weekend. A grizzled agent named Tom lit up like a kid at Christmas over my HOA woes. "Brother, you've got legal dynamite here," he beamed, hauling out regulation tomes. "Native landscaping's shielded by the Water Preservation Act. No HOA can mandate wasteful watering for their green obsessions." The scheme was eco-brilliant. Swap my thirsty turf for drought-hardy natives. Legal, green, and sure to infuriate Susan. 3 days on, my yard rebellion kicked off. Out with chemical-dependent sod, in with sagebrush, wildflowers, and local grasses suited to our arid zone. Lavender's soothing aroma overtook the pesticide tang that plagued our streets. Susan showed on day 2, clipboard like a shield. "Mr. Rivera, this isn't proper grass," she stammered, waving at my half-done garden like it was a hazard. "Nope, conservation planting, fully compliant with state enviro laws." Her complexion shifted hues. HOA guidelines specify, county codes override local prefs. Legal basics. I passed her printed statutes. Care for a rundown on ordinance priority or a sketch? She grabbed them, eyes widening in dread. You could see her mentally tallying lost kickbacks if this heresy spread. "We'll contest this," she huffed, heels clacking away like gunfire. That afternoon's inspection nearly made me chuckle. Spreading bark mulch around sage, a county truck pulls up. Out steps Larry in a fake inspector vest, clipboard poised. Issue. I'd seen that same slack-jawed guy in Susan's family pics. Same thinning hair, evasive gaze, air of ineptitude. "County review," Larry barked, avoiding my eyes. "Reports of fire risks and bugs." "Great, I adore official checks. Mind showing your badge and ID?" "For the record." Larry's bluff crumbled. "My badge?" "Yeah, protocol. Employee number, vehicle reg. Government transparency, you know." Gravel shifted under his fidgety feet. Left it in the cab." "No sweat. What's your ID?" "I'll check online now." Phone ready, site loading, ready to shred his charade. Larry muttered about appointments and bolted, tires spinning like a getaway. Within hours, 3 neighbors quizzed me on natives. Mrs. Lee wanted sage tips. The Thompsons on swapping roses. Susan's inspector flop cracked her facade. Morning quiet now featured birdsong over engine roar, and folks noticed. But trapped rats bite hard. If Susan couldn't dictate my yard, she'd fabricate fines faster than I could appeal. Next dawn brought a fine frenzy fit for a war room. Susan had clearly brewed strategies all weekend, like a wired commander plotting compliance conquest. The barrage started Monday with revenge's crisp scent masquerading as civic duty. Bin placement fine. Cans 3 inches too near curb. $150 plus $50 admin fee. Oppression has bureaucracy. Tuesday, window treatment opacity, disrupting aesthetic unity. Seriously, she invoked aesthetic unity, like critiquing art, not my basic blinds. Wednesday's gem, driveway stains. Her proof pics? Tree shadows. I timed it outside. Sunlight recreated her stains live. Was she delusional or banking on my ignorance? Thursday, phantom pet noise complaints. I haven't had pets since my ex took the cat in the split. But my ghost zoo allegedly howled at 2 a.m. while I snoozed post-shift. Each hit escalated costs. $150 base, $50 process, $25 inspect. Susan minted money like a vengeful ATM. Paper cuts from sorting notices mounted. But divorce taught me. Record all, let crazies self-destruct with rope. Friday, I requested all HOA finances publicly. Organizations spending public funds must show books. Though few check, enabling backyard embezzlement. The packet arrived next week, and holy fiscal felony, it was enlightening. Susan's pay ballooned 340% in 3 years. Consulting to dummy firms, $67,000 yearly for vapor services. Larry's deals 400% over market. I could hire pros for less. But the killer, metadata on my fine photos. Susan backdated using archived shots, faking current infractions. She'd photoshopped dates for non-crimes while I was miles away at work. I was buried in spreadsheets when Emily rang the bell. "You look like you're auditing a cartel," she quipped, joining my chaos at the table. Close. Documenting how our HOA boss runs a scam as neighborhood oversight. Emily pored over my files, finger tracing patterns with thoughtful hums. Alex, this transcends harassment. It's structured larceny. She paused, reining in details. I mean, I've caught enough legal thrillers to spot racketeering setups. Next morning, an anonymous envelope. Susan's finances, $47,000 debt, license suspension for ethics lapses, divorce docs showing her sham marriage. Note, she's robbing us blind. Some see it. Act now. A friend. An insider turned. That night, Emily sorted evidence while I tallied Susan's haul. Paper rustle mixed with sprinkler hum as we assembled a watertight dossier on years of fraud. Most would have bailed by now, Emily noted, eyeing damning transfers. Dodged the hassle, took the loss. Most lack girlfriends versed in fraud from courtroom dramas. She flashed that mysterious grin. Lucky guy? But Susan wasn't done. Trapped foes don't yield, they detonate. Fines halted abruptly. The eerie quiet screamed impending storm. I should have foreseen her endgame. Susan's hush was the eye before the tempest. For days sans threats or fabrications. Stress-munching cold pizza, I unearthed the bombshell in county archives. 1995 HOA charter. Pepperoni grease couldn't dampen my rush reading the dues cap. Max 3% yearly hike or inflation, lesser of two. No loopholes. Hands trembling, I crunched numbers. Current $285 versus legal max $126 after 28 years. Susan overcharged $159 monthly per home times 847 times 8 years. Calculator glared. $10.8 million pilfered. This wasn't abuse, it was county's biggest residential heist. I dialed Emily, voice shaky. Sit down for this. Alex, you sound spooked. What's up? Recall the HOA mess. It's massive. Way bigger. Words spilled. Harassment. Bias. Fakes. Now mega fraud. Emily, straight up, what's your legal gig? Tense pause. I'm Riverside County's district attorney, she said softly. Investigating HOA scams 2 years now. Oak Ridge Meadows is my flagship case. Phone nearly dropped. You're the DA? Alex, I've built federal indictments on Susan Hargrove Prius. RICO, theft ring, rights abuses. Never dreamed I'd fall for a resident in the hot zone. Brain reeling. The legal tips from my girlfriend were from the county's top cop. So when she trashed your truck, that's federal felony on gov property amid her probe for racketeering. Her tone turned steel. She's toast, Alex. Utterly. The poetry. I'd gathered proof solo, while the DA prepped Susan's cell. Why hide it? Ethics. Couldn't risk the case, even for love. But your independent work? Gold for victim testimony. It'll bury her. That evening, Emily hauled in boxes of Fed files. Rustle of dossiers blended with evening sprinklers as we laid out 2 years' enforcement across my table. Ledgers, snaps, taps, Susan's realm dissected. We strike next week, Emily outlined, stacking warrants efficiently. Public bust, asset grab, full Fed show. But sync with your community meet. Arrest her before the whole hood, before cams, witnesses, every fleeced resident. Public wrongs merit public reckoning. When crooks mask as civic leaders, feds don't whisper charges. They stage spectacles for deterrence against other mini-tyrants. Susan spent months shoving me out. Instead, she stacked her own Fed rap sheet, oblivious to the axe. Next 72 hours turned my kitchen into a war room. Emily brought Fed intel nightly. I rallied our resident rebels like a suburban Che. Rico's beauty. Emily explained over takeout aromas mingling with justice's thrill. When scams pose as legit ops, each crime links to conspiracy. She mapped Susan, Larry, Shells, board like a mob chart. Corrupt HOAs see it as petty politics. But cross-property theft hits Fed racketeering, penalties that'd shock gangsters. I mobilized Susan's unwitting victims. Started with Mrs. Lee, her harassment logs filling folders. She'd snapped every blight. Weed, 17 identical, but only hers find. Then Thompson's precise, biased timelines. By midweek, 23 families pledged for the town hall trap, each with abuse proof. Group chat buzzed with tales comical in cruelty. Charged us $400 for urgent roof check, post-drizzle. Inspector her cousin with ladder, texted Mr. Garcia. $600 for wrong paint. My beige matches 12 others, added Sarah Patel. Paint chip proved it. Tech setup rivaled Hollywood. Borrowed hospital AV gear. HD cams for pimple detail from 50 feet. Mics catching whispers. Redundance galore. Hum of tests fueled my buzz as pieces aligned. Emily slotted Detective Harris from Fraud Squad as concerned citizen with arrest clout. News teams would film our budget chat, unaware of the epic HOA downfall ahead. Let Susan self-incriminate, Emily coached, tweaking angles. She'll spin, smear you, threaten suits. All taped, court admissible. Thursday rehearsal. Hidden cams in center, audio dialed, views primed for drama. Felt like directing Justice Theater. Emily schooled smartphone forensics. Chain of custody, auth for Fed use. Simple accounting unmasks decades of HOA graft. Boards bet on apathy. Friday, I delivered invites house to house. Pro stationery, formal verbiage, unignorable. Budget openness forum Sunday, 2 p.m., Center Hall. Snacks and revelations included. Susan tried emergency block vote, but law's clear. Members can call meets on governance. Transparency qualifies. By Saturday, 87 RSVPs. Silent sufferers ready to voice out. Shared folder hit 847 fraud items. Prosecutor holiday fodder. Evidence heft felt like cradling Susan's empire. Months docs poised to shatter year's theft. This ain't just payback, Emily said, prepping warrants. It warns every HOA bully in the land. Abuse power, rob neighbors, violate rights. Feds will publicly crush you. Susan anticipated dominating Sunday via bluster and rules lawyering. Instead, Fed ambush with rolling cams and victim chorus. She'll deflect, play victim, maybe bolt, Emily forecast, filing finals. But evidence, testimonies, Fed might prevail. Sunday dawn brought adrenaline's tang with victory's sweetness. Trap set. Just need the mark. Weekend pre-meet, Susan went feral with legalese and city poll. If sinking, she'd scorch earth en route to Fed pen. Saturday, snap board vote to axe managers, rejig finances. Desperation stink mixed with her floral overload as she shredded 8 years' trails. But Mrs. Wilkins' carbon dupes sat safe in her basement. Susan's wipeout caught on office cams, another Fed obstruction count. Sunday, 911 call claiming I rallied thugs against volunteers. Cop-eyed my binders versus Susan's rants, suggested she lawyer up. Ma'am, logging fines ain't crime. He deadpanned for deranged Karens. Monday, $3,000 emergency levy per home for vital fixes, no one voted. Transparent cash grab pre-freeze. But Tuesday 6:17 a.m. crowned her idiocy. Alarm blared. Cams showed Susan crowbar assaulting Emily's truck. 8 years pettiness peaked in rage. Smash. Window burst. Gouge. Get lost etched in Fed paint. Clang. Mirror dangled. 4K glory. Face clear. Plates readable. For $1,400 gov damage per swing. Delicious irony. Susan faked my crimes. Now real Fed felony daylight. Taped. Divorce nugget. Wrecking gov rides. Cop car. Mail van. Auto Fed turf. Low bar for conviction with ID footage. Emily surveyed wreckage. Prosecutor cool. Well, upgraded to Fed destruction. Mandatory time. No deals. Her genius. Withheld identity. Filed as random vandalism. Lulling Susan while stacking charges. Hood backlash nuked Susan's allies. Even cronies balked at vehicle violence. Freeboard quits in day. News dubbed HOA overreach. Interviewing abuse vets. Susan's rep flipped from enforcer to psycho-despot. Wednesday, PI hire on Emily. Report bomb. Subject DA leading HOA probe. Advise counsel, maybe relocation. Sane folks flee. Susan doubled down. Thursday 2 a.m. Trespass try for litigation evidence. Cams lit her shed pry. Floodlights turning burglary to spotlight crime. Gravel crunch. Curses, stealth fail. Friday, boozy threats to attendees. Slurred vows recorded. Fed to Emily as intimidation beefs. More Fed raps. By Saturday, Susan devolved from boss to fugitive facing menopausal prison. Lawyer, blind to our pile, pushed public fight. Sunday dawned for her swan song. Sunday hit with Justice's crisp edge. While I rigged center cams, Susan staged presser 3 miles off at news station. Live streamed while tweaking setup, I marveled at her unraveling. Victim of smear campaign, she declared, poised in gray suit, makeup subtle, aura wounded power. Disgruntled resident allies with crooks to sabotage leadership, notes in hand. Breathtaking hubris, attacking Emily mid-probe, building obstruction live. Meanwhile, Emily orchestrated Fed strike, warrants ready, detectives poised, agents for bust. Feds exemplify corrupt boards with spectacle, Emily noted in last huddle. Public collars, seizures, spotlight, for nationwide warning. By 11 a.m., center overflowed. 89 residents, kin in tow. Air crackled as silenced victims prepped speeches. Mrs. Lee front row with folders. Thompson's charts spanned bias years. Shy neighbors armed docs, resolve steel. Detective Harris blended, warrant pocketed. 2 fraud pros incognito, escape proof. News rigs for routine meet, clueless to historic takedown. Folder swelled to 847 frauds. Pics, books, mails, threats. She fined my sidewalk $500 for phantom cracks. Inspector nephew, Mr. Garcia murmured, showing pristine concrete shots. Coffee pastry waft couldn't mask Justice's bite as tails swapped. Susan ran parallel cons, padded bills, fake crises, demo-targeted enforcement. Court reporter set, backups checked, displays dramatic, security tight. At 11:30, Susan's PI dropped Emily bomb. Imagine her horror. Target girlfriend equals DA, building her doom 2 years. St. Bolt County. Susan assaults prosecutor mid-case. 11:45. Ditched lawyers settle plea for confrontation to expose plot. Counsel, evidence blind, backed her doom. Psych trap perfect. Susan expected bluster dominance. Instead, FedNet with cams, victims primed. She'll spin, smear system, Emily called. All evidentiary. 11:55. Arrivals surged, signs transparency now. Lot spilled streets as suburb braced reckoning. Noon, Susan's sedan arrived. Emerged armored, suit, poise, case of lies. Zero clue fed doom inside. Trap sprung. Showtime. The community center hushed as Susan Hargrove stormed in like a victor claiming spoils. Tailored charcoal suit, coiffed hair, briefcase gripped like armor. She scanned the crammed hall smugly, anticipating the cowed quiet that fueled 8 years' reign. Instead, 89 residents stared back, evidence-laden, jaws set. Ladies and gentlemen, Susan seized the mic unbidden. Before this misguided assembly, I reveal the conspiracy against your duly elected officials. News cams honed on her assured delivery, unwittingly taping her liberty's end. Alex Rivera has conspired with external thugs to erode proper management, she read steadily. His enigma girlfriend ties to syndicates twisting justice for profit. I sat serene in row 3, flanked by allies I'd rallied, watching Susan forge her Fed obstruction chain live. Sweet justice. She was seconds from demanding my ouster from the community where I'd reclaimed life. Mr. Rivera must be barred from Oak Ridge Meadows for community safety, Susan proclaimed, finger jabbing my way like a judge. Then I rose, strode front, plunked evidence box beside her. Thanks for the opener, Susan. Now, real truths for our neighbors. First slide, 1,995 charter dues cap. Gasps rippled as math hit home. $10.8 million illicit fees over 8 years, I stated, pausing for impact. $12,750 fleeced per home. Susan's poise fractured as screens filled, transfers to phantoms, for 100% vendor gouges, personal charges on HOA dime. Absurd, Susan barked. Forged by felons. Including audio. Laptop play, Susan's voice boomed. That Latino pest is trouble. Dump him before values plummet. Stunned silence. Even loyalists recoiled at raw bigotry. Now, security vid, IQ truck smash. 4K carnage unfolded. Susan unmistakable, wrecking Emily's rig viciously. Glass spray, metal scream, get lost carve. Susan blanched, grasping her taped felony. That truck's my girlfriend Emily Whitaker's, I declared, freezing frame on her face. Don't care about some nobody, Susan began. District Attorney Emily Whitaker, I cut in, probing HOA fraud 2 years, Oak Ridge Prime. Susan petrified midword, projected crowbar limp as hall buzzed shock. Enter Emily's side door, prosecutor attired, Harris and agents trailing. Flashes popped as Emily mic'd. Susan Hargrove, you're under arrest for gov property destruction, embezzlement, RICO, rights breaches per Fed code. Cuffs click echoed in pin drop quiet as agents cuffed her before cams, crowd, press. Miranda droned as Susan gaped, dawn breaking on her blunder. Hall erupted applause as she was marched out. 8 years terror, cuffed finale. Residents queued for media, recounting abuses. Mrs. Lee's biased tears, Thompson's harassment saga, families tallying thefts. When HOA rot hits Fed crime, justice slams. Emily told press by evidence walls. Hood voted board dissolve, reforms. Open books, terms, fair rules. Susan's blocks gone. 6 months on, Oak Ridge Meadows bloomed anew. Susan copped plea, dodging trial shred. 18 months, Fed time plus $347,000 payback. RICO tripled. Hubby's pension axed for ties, license yanked forever. Refunds flowed. $2,847 average per home. Fed seizures added $89,000 community pot. Her assets footed legals. But mindset shift profound. Fearful folks now engage democracy. New board meets transparent. Input welcome. Mrs. Lee treasurer, quarterly audits. Thompson's on design, nixed bias. Shy ones joined. My native yard trend. 12 conversions, 40% water drop, wildlife return. Lavender birdsong ousted chem noise. Parking curbs lifted. Bids competitive, costs halved. Larry's lock broken. Emily and I bonded deeper via justice fight. Character shown, grit, bravery, advocacy. You know, Emily said strolling our revamped streets. Most HOA ills stem from good folk silence. Organize, document, crooks fold fast. I turned reformer, workshops on rights, proofs. My tale sparked 17 county actions. Emily's unit probes widespread rot. Media spurred state laws, stiffer corruption fines, mandatory openness. Our case, RICO HOA textbook. Personal win, belonging via fight, not fold. Susan's pad. Food bank garden. Foes now collaborate. Kids frolic sans find fear. Wildlife center, from recouped funds, teaches conservation, civics. Annual plant fest draws neighbors for sustainable tips, fair HOA chats. Remember, Emily tells groups in our talks, bullies thrive on quiet. Record, unite, harness citizen power for justice. Children's laughter rings where fines once ruled. Barbecue scents banish injustice's bile. I hold keys to a true home, not mere deed, but defended community. Susan learned authority abuse and neighbor theft brings Fed fallout. Her realm fell because one stood, documented, found justice clicks with cuffs and flashes. What do you think about the themes of violence and injustice in this story? Share your opinions in the comments below, especially your stance on how everyday people can fight back against such abuses. I'd love to hear your views and experiences.